serious. What are some misconceptions about sex that you had when you were younger? I thought if a guy got an erection, he had to come in order for it to go away. Keep in mind I also knew dudes got random erections at all times for no reason during puberty. I just thought there was a lot of jacking off going on in the bathrooms at school. Mom told me the whole penis in vagina thing when I was really young and asked, but she didn't go into detail, so I didn't know about erections and I thought the guy just carefully placed his limp ding dong in her hoa and they sit there and wait for something to happen. I was always so confused how missionary sex worked. I thought the penis always to be sticking straight out 90 degrees from the body and didn't realize the woman could rotate her hips up. I was fully convinced missionary sex was a myth. That women who wanted babies would wait until the man was asleep and then stick his dick inside. Because men on TV are always surprised when they find out they're going to be dads. So they must not be aware that they had done the sex. I remember a few things when Rugrats showed Dee Dee pregnant with Dill. My friend told me her and Stu had sex. I was shocked. Surely there was a different way. I was stumped. I used to masturbate as a kid. I remember being like 5 and rubbing my legs together and getting the magic feeling, so I got it in my head that masturbating was just like sex, so if I do it then I get pregnant. So I remember being 10 and being like, oh no, I'm 10. How am I gonna take care of a baby? Wasn't sex, but holding hands makes you pregnant. Thanks, Dad. I was raised by lesbians until I was 14 or so. My real mom wasn't around, neither was my dad or any male figure really. I vividly remember getting frustrated in sex ed, trying to explain to my teacher that obviously you don't need a penis to make babies because my parents were 2 women. It was a weird day. That men always want it more than women. When I first started having sex, I felt like people would judge me as a woman if they knew how often I wanted it. In 4th grade, we had a sex education class that showed us the birth of a baby. My classmate and I could not understand how little vagina was capable of those abilities. Our 2 young minds came to the conclusion that maybe the vagina texture was similar to an octopus, which could stretch to great lengths. The young mind is a great one. I thought that since penises basically stuck straight out, that it was biologically logical that the vagina was right in the front. So basically a man and woman could stand face to face and do the deed. The first time I saw that they were actually tucked under, I was so confused. How do 2 people do the sex then if they don't even line up? How can girls even see their own genitals? That a dildo was a fancy word for turd. I was wrong. I remember being super confused as a child as to how many holes women had down there. At one point, I thought there were 4. Pooing, peeing, sex, and 1 for babies to come out. Then for a while, I thought it was just 1. Just 1 very useful, multi-purpose hole that was probably really dirty. I had a friend whose dad bought him dirty mags. I remember looking through one with him and very ashamedly asking him how women work. He laughed when he explained it to me, but I was very relieved when he told me that a lot of his friends asked him that. I thought spooning was something sexual. I also thought beating your meat was when you would actually like punch your dick. I thought that once you get married, the woman would become pregnant. I was really confused on how some women weren't pregnant even though they were married. And then I found out the hard way. Not sure if this counts, but as an uncircumcised American, when I had my first sex ed class in 4th grade and saw the diagram of a penis, I was very confused. It was a circumcised one and I thought for a while that my penis must be diseased or something since it didn't look like that. And I'd never rolled down my foreskin before then, so I didn't know what a dick tip was supposed to look like. Once I learned there was something under there that I hadn't properly washed in 10 whole years of life, I flew into a panic. I quickly began figuring out how to roll it down, enduring all the pain that came initially, and washing down there for like 10 minutes per shower, which meant around 20 minutes per day. Not so much sex but the menstrual cycle. I remember asking Mom, how did you know if you were pregnant, and all she ever said was, if you find blood on your underwear, you are not pregnant. If there is no blood, you are pregnant. From this, I thought that you simply bled all the time and only stopped when you fell pregnant. It was a bit of an eye-opener when I had my first period at 11. The lack of info from Mum, coupled with the lack of real sex education from the nuns at the Catholic school I attended, meant that I had a lot of misconceptions in regards to sexual reproduction. Sigh. As an adult, I realized that sex was a very normal part of adult life, and so is menstruation. I also learned that whilst it may be a confronting subject for some adults, sex education is important and not some dirty little secret that needs to be hidden away. I used to think that a gangbang meant that a few guys penetrate the woman's vagina all at the same time. My mother gave me a terrible sex talk and I was so confused by the way she explained attraction to me. I thought I was gay. I thought that when two people had sex, they were just making out naked the whole time. I thought the movement was up and down, like a credit card going through a swipe thing at a store. 1. That masturbating was shameful behavior and that I was the only one engaging in it regularly. 2. That everyone was having sex at 12 except me. Bunch of liars kids are. 3. That you need a humongous penis to please a woman. Any of you familiar with purity culture might be able to relate. Growing up, sex before marriage was heavily frowned upon, with most of the teaching in the church being given to the girls in our youth group. Sex before marriage was absolutely forbidden in my very religious family. No one told me how amazing and wonderful it could be. After I got married, I ended up sobbing uncontrollably after each time and could not figure out why. This went on for about the first 2 years of being married. Looking back, it was utter guilt. So many years of being taught how it is bad. You ruin yourself, etc. No one told us the positives. Screwed me up for a really long time. When my mom told me about how making babies worked, and she told me about how women can only get pregnant when they ovulate and how that happens once a month and so on, and then comes your period. She also said that in order for someone to become pregnant, the guy has to have a boner, and the woman has to ovulate. So the conclusion I drew was that guys get hard-ons in cycles like once a month too. And I thought, damn, it must be hard getting pregnant if both the man's boner time and the woman's ovulation time has to match in time. I was like 7 to 8-ish. I thought a blowjob was blowing air on the penis. In 4th grade, my friend got the talk and shared it with me the next day. He told me that the boy puts it in the girl and then kinda pees. So, the first time I had sex, I stuck it in, just kind of laid there, and tried taking a piss. Edit. Also, keep in mind that this was during pre-internet days. So as a kid, me and my 4 to 5 friends used to think girls had 3 holes down below, and to make it worse, a tomboy chick started hanging around with us and she basically agreed girls had 3 holes, 1 for poop, 1 for sex, 1 for babies. Years later, I was getting my fingers wet for the first time. I was feeling around looking for a 3rd hole, thinking I found it. I stuck a finger up her ass by mistake. She freaked out. I freaked out. Terrible first time experience. But I laugh now thinking about it. That if I were to have it before marriage, I'd lose my very humanity. That it would change who I fundamentally am at my core. You need to look your best, even for masturbation. That sex always would result in pregnancy no matter what. A dildo was a type of bird. That people really want what's best for each other sexually. That women come as easily as men. For us, it's a fairly simple process. There's an effort that needs to be put into satisfying most women. Learning how to do that before letting myself have release was an awakening. That the bigger your dick was, the better the sex was. Most people seem to prefer average or slightly bigger. That women can't come from penetration. Some can. Some can't. That I'm supposed to enjoy blowjobs. I have an open mind. But it's never happened. That men can only come once. Sometimes that's true. But at least in my early 20s my dick would get sore before I stopped coming. That women don't enjoy sex as much as men. They just don't enjoy bad sex or selfish sex as much as men. That a woman's pleasure is a measure of my sexual aptitude as a man. It often seems to have more to do with how horny they are and what mood they're in. That it's an achievement to have sex. It's actually more about bonding with another human. And viewing sex that way is hurtful to everyone. I also think my sex life changed forever when I realized that we're all biologically programmed to be able to do this. Of course, there are techniques to learn and get better at. But the basics can be pretty easily figured out by almost anyone so long as you're kind and welcoming to each other.